Hello, welcome to episode 47 of the Craft House Magic Podcast. My name's Ellie and I'm coming to you from Norwich in Norfolk in the UK, and today is the 23rd, I think, the 23rd of August 2018. So thank you so much for joining me. Welcome. I'm going to share all the crafty things that I've been up to the last couple of weeks with you guys. I've got some knitting, some crochet, some quilting. I've got the normal blast from the past and gadget, as well as a few confessions. Went to the Festival of Quilts, so I bought a few things. I wasn't as bad as normal, it's okay. And I've got a question off the Ask Me Anything thread on the Ravelry group. And I'm not going to include any things to show you from the shop update, because I'm not going to have a shop update till the 30th of August, which is next week at 7 o'clock PM at 7 o'clock in the evening at British summertime. I've had too much caffeine, I think. It's not going to be a good start, is it? So in the shop update, I'm going to have some Halloween kits where there's going to be a pumpkin themed bag and yarn and some progress keepers. And if you watch my Instagram account, if you follow me on Instagram, I'll be posting pictures up there of the designs just before the release date next Friday. And I'm also going to be doing some Christmas sort of advents, mini advents, where there's 12 days of Christmas basically. 12 20-gram mini skeins. And the mini skeins are going to be dyed in the theme of 80s songs that were top 10 in Christmas time. So that'll be fun. So those will be a sort of surprise. So you won't know exactly what colours you're getting, but it'll be a nice sort of reminder of 1980s Christmas time. So that'll be available on the 30th as well. And I'll also have 2 new colourways, or at least 2 new, because I've got 2 new I've started dyeing up already. So there'll be some more colourways as well. So if you follow me on Instagram, I'm Craft House Magic on there, and then you can find links down below to my Instagram on Ravelry, etc. So I'm thinking about doing this meetup, sort of Norfolk monthly meetup, and so far I've chatted to people, and I think Sunday is quite a good day to meet, and I'm thinking about the second Sunday of each month and doing it between 11 and sort of 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so that we can just have a sit and chat and relax. And at the moment I have an idea to meet at a place in Heatherset, which is on the end of the A11, where the A11 and the A47 meet. So if you're driving in Norwich somewhere or in Norfolk, it's quite easy to get to. I've got a couple of venues that I want to check out before I sort of start it, but I'm thinking about Heatherset anyway. So if you have any ideas for places in Heatherset, just give me a message, or if you think Heatherset isn't a very good place for us to meet, let me know. So we've got the swim along going on at the moment, and I'll be showing you my progress on my Goldfish Memories shawl just a little bit later on. And we've got some lovely progress. So many people have done so much already, but I'm a bit behind. I didn't want to do too much, because if you wanted to join in a bit late, I didn't want you to think that you've got lots to catch up on, so that's my excuse. So we've got 2 prizes for the swim along. Don't forget, we've got this lovely yarn from Fee from Flourish Fibres, which is naturally dyed, and we've also got a pattern which I will gift to the winner, which is about $10, to the value of $10. And then we've also got the Christmas craft along going on already. This started at the beginning of January. It will run till the end of November, and it's just chatting about all the things that you're making for Christmas or for Christmas gifts in any sort of craft. Love to hear about what you've been making, and there's a couple of prizes drawn at the end of every month. So go over to the Ravelry group if you're interested in that as well. So I published a video last week on how I layer and pin my quilt. If you wanted to see that, I shall leave a link below so you can find it. And I'm thinking about publishing my video that I took footage of the Festival of Quilts for next week's sort of in between podcasts video. So, shall we get on to the good stuff? So let's start with the knitting first. I have a finished object. Yes. So I was thinking about sort of all my Christmassy makes that I want to make for Christmas gifts for the coming Christmas this year, and it's all to do with sort of the Christmas craft along really. And I realised that I hadn't made all my gifts that I had on my list or in my head really. I hadn't actually written them out. So I actually started and finished an entire pair of socks. So these are knitted in Patterns Croy. I actually bought 2 of these yarns to make a pair of socks, but I actually only ended up using 1 ball because I used a contrast heel and toes. So the colourway, it says blue striped rag. I shall show you the numbers on the yarn, and you can tell how it's sort of going to stripe up on the ball anyway. So that's Patterns Croy, and it comes out like this, and I really love how these colours come out. I think I originally saw this colourway on Kay from the Crazy Sock Lady podcast, and I thought I needed some of these. So when I went over to Florida on my honeymoon, I had to pop over, I think it was either Joanne's or what's the other one? One of the sort of big craft stores anyway, and I managed to pick up a ball of this. And then I found in my stash that I'd got some Knit Picks Stroll just to contrast with a red for heels and toes. And I thought that would look nice, and that means I've managed to get an entire pair of socks out of 1 ball. It means I've got another ball to make another pair. So these are going to be a Christmas gift, and I won't say for who because it's going to be a surprise. And I knitted them on 2.75mm needles, and I used basically most of my top down sock pattern, but then I used the German short row heel that I've done on my toe up sock, which I've done tutorials for. So it's basically, most of the sock is the simple top down socks, but then I've done the German short row heel instead, just so that it looks really nice with the stripes there. I love those colours. I'm really pleased with those. So that's another sock off my Christmas list, and I just have 1 pair of socks that I'm planning on doing it for a Christmas gift, and I can't believe it. It's August and I'm already nearly done with my Christmas knitting, and I've cast them on. So on to works in progress. I had this gorgeous ball, and this is a gobstopper ball by Lollipop Yarn. I'll see if I can find the label. So this is Lollipop Yarn, and this was gifted to me by my lovely friend Terry. Hello Terry! And it's called Cold Snap, the main colour. And on the little card it says that there's 6 rows each of Freeze, Arctic, Deep Chill, and all surrounded by 4 rows of Sleet, which I assume is the grey, because if you look at my sock now I've started to knit it, there's a sort of shorter grey stripe between 3 different blues there. So they are knitting up a treat. So I started just with my standard sort of sock pattern, where I've cast on, I think 60 stitches on 2.75mm needles. That's what I tend to go to because I knit quite tightly. And I've just done a 2x2 rib. It's actually, I'm doing pretty much the same pattern that I'm following for the Patterns Croy socks, because I've used the little mini to do a short German short row heel there, because again they're lovely striped yarn, so I had to make the most of that. So I love these colours. So this is the blue that came as a little mini in the Lollipop Yarn set, and that's gorgeous. Really nice blue that tones in well with the darkest stripe of the socks, and that's Lollipop Yarn. So that's already gone past the heel of the first sock, so that's good. I find that socks are brilliant for knitting while you're driving along. Well, not when you're driving along, but you know, if you're a passenger in a car, they're nice and small to have on your lap rather than something too big. And I was obviously doing a lot of travelling because we travelled over to the Festival of Quilts a couple of weekends ago. So that's my sort of sock works in progress. And I've also been working on my Madewell cardigan. This is going to be harder to show you. So I had actually made quite a bit of progress on this since the last time, but then I stopped because I wasn't sure whether to do 3/4 length sleeves or full length sleeves. My original plan was to do a 3/4 length sleeve. Oops. So this is the, oh, it's going to be difficult to show you because it's quite large. So I finished the ribbing off at the bottom. There's a few inches of ribbing. I actually changed this from 1x1 ribbed to a 2x2 rib just because I like the look of it better and it's easier to get a neater look. And I used a cast off method which I found on Very Pink Knits, and I will leave a link below. I think it's a ribbed cast off where you're basically, oh, I can't remember exactly what I did now, but I will leave a link below to the rib bind off, and it leaves a nice stretchy bind off because I wanted it to be stretchy around sort of my body as I'm wearing it rather than it being a quite stiff. And I found that when I started to try using Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off, I didn't like how the edge looked in the rib. But you're casting off sort of stitches as normal, but then knitting two together as well. So that gives you a little bit of stretchiness, but I will leave a link below to that tutorial. And then I started on the arm. So I picked up stitches on the armhole, and then I actually reduced down to a smaller size because I'd knitted the right size for the body to accommodate my bust area, but then my arms were slightly smaller and I wanted to have a couple of inches of positive ease on my arm and not too much positive ease. So I decreased to a smaller size, and I've started doing the arm decreases, and I'd got to the point where I thought that was about time to do the rib if I was doing 3/4 length sleeves. But then I don't know, because it's quite a long cardigan, whether it'll look a bit weird having 3/4 length sleeves and quite a long body. My idea is that I will probably wear a 3/4 length sleeve better because I tend to push my sleeves right up anyway. But what I think I'm going to do is, instead of sort of pondering over it for ages, I'm going to actually cast on the second sleeve and knit to the 3/4 length point and do the band all the way around the neck and then decide, because then at least I'm actually getting on with it. So this is in my You Spin Me Round colourway, and it's got a grey sort of splotchy base with some purpley pink speckles on there, and I've been very naughty and I'm not alternating skeins. Bit of a risk. Don't advise anybody to do this, but it's not come out badly so far. There are some spaces where there's slightly darker speckles, but I think it'd be like that anyway. I don't think I'd probably do that again, but as I've already started not alternating, I'm going to be naughty still. So the pattern is the Madewell cardigan by Joji Locatelli, and I will pop a picture up what it's supposed to look like on screen. So that is my sort of garment work in progress. And next I'm going to show you my Goldfish Memories shawl, and I've put it miles away. I'm just going to reach right across. So we're knitting this together for the swim along knit along, and so this is the Goldfish Memories shawl, and my lovely friend Jo suggested that the swim along would be a lovely name for it, and I thought that's fantastic, so I said, Jo, we've got to do it. So the Goldfish Memories shawl is a sort of a long, I don't know what you call it, I can't think of the word. It's basically a long shawl that's like a wrap that is knitted sort of diagonally like this, but the width of it still remains relatively narrow, so it should be quite a wearable piece, and you're knitting diagonally here to give a nice effect. So I think I got up to this section on the last episode. So this is section 1, which is a lovely texture. Then section 2 is like a garter stitch stripe. Section 3 has got these interesting stripes and slip stitches here, which was quite fun. I've not done something that looks like that before. And then I'm about halfway through section 4. And my target was to finish section. I can't say section. And my target was to finish section 4, but I'm afraid I'm a bit behind. But this is how it looks. So this bit here is how it's supposed to look on the pattern, but then on this repeat I forgot to do it on exactly the same method, and I thought, do you know what, it's my shawl. what I'm going to do is, so there's actually a total of 4 repeats of this bit. So the second repeat I've changed it slightly, and on the third repeat I'll do the same as here, and on the fourth repeat I'll do the same as I did the mistake on. So I will just carry on, because it's my own shawl, I can put a bit of me in it. So there we are, that's how it's coming along so far. Do you know what, this is coming quite quickly. I think I've done about 2 or 3 evenings of work since the last episode. I've been spending a lot of time on scrappy blankets. So it has actually knitted up quite quickly. So it is a relatively quick knit. Because it's split into 12 sections, I'm going to try and do a section each week. So that's 2 sections to show you on each podcast. And then it's actually not that much knitting between each week, so I don't have to put pressure on myself to sort of get it finished. And then I'll finally end up with a lovely big shawl. So the yarns I'm using are my Love is a Battlefield. I shall show you the yarn in the cake. The darker bluey green is Love is a Battlefield, and it's got some speckles of darker green in there, like this bit here. And then I've also used my Here Comes the Rain Again, and it's a sort of a pale grey with some grey speckles. And then this is my sort of newer colourway, which is La Bonita, and it's a cream base, or the natural colour of the yarn, with some speckles of blue and green. And if you look closely, you can see what the speckles look like just there. It's a bit difficult to show you, the light's streaming through the window a bit today. But there we are. So I'm quite pleased with the colours I've chosen. I cheated a little bit because the one in the picture had sort of quite a vivid colour, a grey and then a cream base with a speckle on it. So I thought that that sort of combination of tones would go well together. So there we go. So if you want to come and join the swim along, you can still enter at any time, and the knit along is going to go right till the end of October, so you've still got plenty of time to knit it, and you can knit it much quicker than me. Lorraine has already finished hers, and there was a couple of other people that have already got quite far on there, so you can have a look at the discussion thread on the Ravelry group, and you can see what everyone's colour choices look like. I know that Fee, that's actually donated the yarn, has also joined in, and she's doing one in all her hand dyed and naturally dyed yarn, so that's going to be interesting to see. So there we are, that's my shawl. And now here comes all the naughty projects that I've spent far too much time actually knitting. I'm just going to grab it. So I picked up my Cozy Memories blanket again, which is naughty because then I can't put it down. Let me find the side that I've added to. Oh dear. Here we are. So I've done nearly a whole row. It might be easier if I sort of step back a bit. So this is my blanket so far. And I'm doing like a chevron pattern. I don't know how easy this is going to be to show you. You can see that the arrow's sort of pointing towards my face. And I'm going to continue doing the squares in that direction now until I've done the same amount of rows that I did in the other direction. And then I'm going to go back in the other direction again. If you're interested to see how exactly I've planned this out, I've actually done a tutorial on the Cozy Memories blanket, and it's the part 4 which shows you how I lay out the chevron pattern. And I have done these squares. So this is a Lay Family yarn, this is a Lay Family yarn, and this one is too, out of the Christmas kit I had last year. This one is Fondant Fibre in the Geisha colourway, and this one is Little French Meadow in Expecto Patronum. And I know that Naomi from Cozy Cute Knits actually gave me that, and I remember her saying about that when she was knitting it on her own blankets. And you can't say Expecto Patronum without saying it in like a spellcasty way. Actually, Naomi's started doing her own podcast now, sort of called Cozy Cute Knits, and you could go over and see her podcast. So I've got a few more along here. So this one, this one and this one, no, this one and this one, sorry, are both Lay Family yarn. This one here is Nora George Spring colourway, and this one here is a Yarny Love Autumn Speckles, and then this last one is a nice deep blue with some sparkliness, and that's You Mama. I don't know what the colourway is called. So there we go. That's my row that I've done, and I'm only 2 squares short from the end, so I'm going to have to finish those because I can't cope with it not being sort of square or rectangular. So it's getting bigger, and it's lovely to have this on your lap when you're knitting it. It's going to be so cosy in the winter. Even when it's warm, I've still been knitting on it. It's dreadful, isn't it? Right, I'm not going to show you too much of it, but I'm going to go to the crochet section and give you a quick glimpse of my Battenberg blanket. I've done one whole row of colours and one whole row of plain squares since the last time I showed you, so there's my progress on that. I'm not going to go through all the squares because they're such small scraps that sometimes I can't remember where I got them from, but there we go. I just wanted to mention as well that this is the Battenberg blanket by Sandra at Cherry Heart, and she has a tutorial on her website how to join the squares together without having to do big long rows, and it's a really lovely tutorial which is I definitely recommend. But what I wanted to do is start with a sort of straight edge so that I'm working across making it a straight piece at some point, so you don't actually, when you're joining them, Sandra's tutorial shows you how to join 4 coloured squares with plain one, but if you do that all the way across you end up with a sort of a jagged edge. So I've just joined 3 squares to the cream one here just to make it a nice straight edge, but there we go. It also looks quite nice on the back. I'll show you the little crochet pack, how they're joined together. So there we go. I won't talk about that too much. What I might do is from now on is sort of show either my Cozy Memories blanket or my Battenberg blanket, because otherwise you won't see much progress on them. Right, so we're now on to the quilting section, or the sewing section, which is quilting. And I've started a quilt, and my quilt group ladies think I'm a bit mad because I basically wanted to finish this for our quilt show, which is at the end of September, which is in a school hall close to me in Drayton. Now I picked up, if I just show you some of the charm pack squares, not charm pack, they're layer cake squares, which I bought absolutely ages ago. So these are some of the patterns that came in this layer cake, and it's called Momo and it's a Moda charm pack, and it's called Avant Garden Momo, and I've actually picked that up, it must have been 2 years ago, and I had the same quilt that I'm actually making planned for ages and I just never got round to it. So I thought I'm going to start it and have it for the quilt show. So what I am doing is I'm taking the 10-inch squares and I'm putting them right sides together with a grey square, and I'm making 8 half square triangles out of this. So I'm drawing a line from corner to corner. I don't know if you can see the pencil line on screen. In pencil, from corner to corner, crossed right over. And then what I'm doing is I'm stitching either side of this line 1/4 of an inch. Let's find one that I've already... Oh, that's not sewn up. Let's find one that's sewn up. So you can see here I've sewn either side of the pencil line, and then they're cut into pieces. So I'll cut... Let's try and hold it against my boobs. That might be easier. So I'm going to cut down here, and then in between where the actual pencil lines are, and you end up with 8 half square triangles, and each of them will look like this, and then I'll press them open and cut them to size. I've cheated a bit because it really bugs me that these layer cakes, they're never exactly 10 inches. These actual they're cut with a like a pinking shear, and just to make sure that I definitely had them all exactly the same size, I actually cut my grey squares. I think it was about 1/8 of an inch larger, so 10 3/8 of an inch. I cut the grey squares just so that it allows for any variation in the layer cake squares. And then once I've cut the 8 half square triangles out of that, I then open these up, press the seams open carefully, and then I get a little square ruler and I cut them at exactly 4.5 inches, and you can see how there I've pressed the seams outwards. So those of you who are quilters, some people like to press their seams in one direction. Here I've pressed them out flat because I know that I'm going to do quite a bit of quilting on there. I'm not just going to be stitching in the ditch, so that I know that it'll be nice secure on my seams. But you could also increase or decrease the length of your stitch so that it is more secure if you are opening the seams out. The reason why I like to open the seams out is because it makes a little bit less bulk from when I'm quilting the layers together. But there we go. That's what I've done. Basically, I've got hundreds of these half square triangles. So that is what I've made so far. You've got to look at my really scruffy drawing now. So this is my sort of idea of how I'm going to do this quilt, and you can see where I've been sketching these calculations. So it's going to be this is where all the coloured lines are going to be from the squares. So these coloured parts are going to be where I've coloured it in, and then I'm going to have some negative space here, and then I'm going to quilt it in quite a modern way because I fancy doing quite a modern quilt. So there we go. That's how far I got with there. That's how far I've got so far with it, and I shall hopefully get a bit more done so I can actually show you a top by the next episode, because we haven't got time. We haven't got much time left till the quilt show. So there we go. I've made a mess now with all my little blocks everywhere. What I quite like doing actually is when I open up the squares. Let me grab one again. When I open up the squares, I like to finger press this seam open rather than getting the iron onto it straight away, because it's less likely to stretch your fabric. And I find that's quite easy. And then when you're trimming your square down, it also gets rid of these little ears of fabric. So there we go. I'll stop rambling on about quilting. And what I'm going to do now is blast from the past. So I was looking through my things that I've made that were in my jewellery box, and I found this. And I haven't actually worn this ever, but I thought actually if I had a top that would go nicely with this, I would wear it more often. So this is made of a beautiful alpaca wool mixed yarn, and this is a pattern called the Peter Pan collar by Emma Escott, and it was in Simply Crochet magazine issue 8, but you can actually buy this pattern from Ravelry if you're interested, and I'll pop a link down below. Alternatively, you could look at my Ravelry project pages, and it's quite low down because I did it ages ago. So this is made of Natural Dye Studio in the Angel sock base, and I just love how these little... Isn't that cute? So it's made to go as like a collar that you can wear with a shirt, and I think it was originally designed to be worn like for a child to wear, but I think it might be cute if you had a nice blouse the right height. You could actually make it slightly longer so that it would be suitable for a lower neck. It looks a bit silly with this top, but if you had like a t-shirt that went up to where the neck piece goes, that'd be quite cute. And also if you're sort of keeping it separate as a kind of a necklace rather than attached to a t-shirt or top, you can sort of wash it as and when you like, and hand wash it really if you want to use your special yarns. So there we go. I used a cute little shiny blue button I had in my stash, but I haven't actually ever worn it, but I just found it and I thought, oh, that would be really nice with a sort of a plain t-shirt underneath or a little blouse. I think that's so pretty, and the halo that this yarn gives, I just love it. So there we go. That's my blast from the past for this time. I keep thinking that I'm going to run out of blast from the past, and then I find these things that I've made ages ago. Oh dear. So I've got my gadget to show you this time, and I've actually buried it under all the yarn. Where did I put it? Ah, it's up here. So this week's gadget is a Bendy Ruler. I think I picked this up from either eBay or Amazon, and it enables you to measure things round corners, which I think is really useful sometimes. If you're trying to measure the circumference of a circle without having to do the maths, it's much easier. And also I noticed, I think it was Liz Sews on her little tutorial on how to sort of measure yourself to get the size of bra underwire. She also used one of these, and yes, brilliant, ideal for that. And also I've noticed as well, if you're trying to adjust sewing patterns, if you want a particular curve that you want to draw, you can bend it to the right shape and then draw along it as a sort of alternative to a French curve. So there we go. That's my gadget for this time. I think that this actually came up quite cheap where I got it from on either eBay or Amazon, but I will leave a link below if you want to find that. So we've got confessions next. Oh dear, been a bit naughty. I did go to the Festival of Quilts in Birmingham, and it was very tempting. I could have bought so much more. So I have been a bit naughty with my confessions, but there was so much more I could have bought. So I bought a few little scraps of Liberty fabric. So there we go. I just had to have something little that there's no actual thing that I've got planned for these. I just thought they were so pretty, so I had to have some lovely little pieces of Liberty fabric. These tiny ones, I think they're 1/16 of a metre, and I think that was about £1. Oh, I can't remember. Let's see if I've got the receipt. I can't remember which shop I've got it from, but I should be able to find it and pop it on the screen. So I got these little pieces of 1/16 of a metre just to have a play with some paper piecing or something, and it just is quite affordable then if you just want a little bit of fabric happiness. So I bought some fabrics for patterns, sewing patterns, dressmaking patterns that I'd sort of got on my list. So I've made a little booklet where I've written all the pattern names that I've purchased and how much fabric I need from them and the types of fabric that I'll need for them. So I had my little book with me, and I decided that this Lady McElroy fabric will make a lovely blouse. I think it's the Blossom blouse I'm planning to make with this. So this is Lady McElroy, and it is a beautiful cotton lawn, and it's got these beautiful hydrangeas on with a beautiful duck egg blue green leaf on there, and it's sort of a very dark teal background, so I thought that would be beautiful. I had my eye on this before. I saw it on the Knitting and Stitching show. They had it for sale, and I picked it up thinking, oh, I want to buy some of that, but I wasn't quite sure what I was going to make with it. I was thinking about a penny dress as well, but I thought a blouse would be a little bit more wearable. So there we go. I also went to a stall. Oh, I'm afraid I don't know what the name of this. They didn't give me a receipt either, so I don't know what the stall was called. But it was one of those stalls at the Festival of Quilts that was just piled high with bolts of all sorts of dressmaking fabric, or all sorts of fabric that you could imagine for any purpose. And I found this polyester, very drapey fabric that I thought would be amazing to make a sew over at kimono. And it was only £4 a metre, so I was able to buy 4 metres for £12. So I'm going to try out one of the longer length kimonos, because I think that will be lovely as a sort of cover up for a t-shirt. And then I picked up a third piece, and this was from Fabrics Galore. Apologise for the creases, because I have washed these but I've not pressed them yet, and this viscose looks as if it's going to be particularly creasy. So I'll have to give that a press before I always give my fabrics a good press before I cut them out anyway. So This is a gorgeous sort of mustardy coloured viscose, very drapey, with a cute little heart on, and I thought that this would make a nice Susie blouse. I keep remembering these names. So all these patterns are also over it patterns, but that I'm talking about today. So that I thought would make a nice Susie blouse with a little collar on. Actually, come to think of it, I could sort of crochet a neck to go on it instead of making a neck. I'm not sure whether that would be too over the top. Well, we'll see. So that's my third purchase of fabric for dressmaking things from the Festival of Quilts. And then last thing I bought from the Festival of Quilts was some foils from Pat Archibald's stall. So Pat Archibald is a very talented textile designer, and she uses these foils to apply to fabric to make beautiful pieces of art like wall hangings. And I'd seen her she'd done some videos on YouTube about how to do this before, and I actually saw that she'd got some for sale, so I picked up a few of those. And there's also a little packet of these like glue granules that she uses to make like a tiny speckled effect with the foils. So I picked that up as well. And that's all that I bought from the Festival of Quilts. So I was very, very well behaved, considering how many lovely things were there. But then I got some beautiful gifts that a few people sent me, or 2 people had sent me. So thank you so much, ladies. First of all, I received this beautiful book, that lovely Ali from Little Drops of Wonderful. She sent me this because I bought a little pack of silver clay from one of the shows a little while ago, and she'd been doing silver clay and she'd used this book quite a lot, and she said, Ellie, would you like it? And I said, oh, Ali, that'd be lovely, and isn't that wonderful? So this is going to give me some ideas of what to do with my silver clay, because it's new to me. I've never done it before, so that will be really lovely. Let's pick a little. Oh, that's lovely. There's a little leaf shape that somebody's done. Oh, so that's going to be really exciting. Thank you so much, Ali. And Ali sent me this most gorgeous little card as well. I had to show you the cute little cover on it, and it's got a lovely little note in there. Thank you, Ali. And my minis are in my Cozy Memories blanket bag, ready to go in my Cozy Memories blanket. And then I had, a couple of days ago, I think, I had a beautiful surprise from my lovely Instagram friend Claire, and she sent me a little mini set by Kelly from Lay Family Yarn. Aren't they gorgeous? So those are going to go in my Cozy Memories blanket too. And thank you so much, Claire. That's really lovely. I do love my minis. I've got a big basket here that I've been not wanting to actually unwind because they look too pretty. So those will definitely be going in my Cozy Memories blanket, and also in my Battenberg blanket as well. So now we're on to the Ask Me Anything section. So I had a question from Rachel, who is Rachel Joy 7 on Ravelry, and she was asking me about interchangeable needle sets because she's looking into buying a set, and she was a bit confused as to what length of needle to buy. So my set that I bought was, this is my higher sharp set, and I quite like the ones, I think they're 5 inches, whoops, they're 5 inches long. They do a smaller one as well, but I can't remember what the length is. I think it's 4 inches in length in total. But I prefer the 5 inches because of the way I knit. So I knit with my needle like this, and the 5-inch needles lay nicely on the back of my hand, and it just makes it more comfortable to knit with. But it really is personal preference to which length you prefer. However, if you're buying needles, interchangeable needles, to do hat knitting, for instance, I think you're probably better off getting shorter ones, because you tend to have a 16-inch cable needle to be able to get your stitches all the way around the hat, round that loop, and the shorter needles help you to, they're not as bulky with the sort of shorter cable length, if that makes sense. So it really is up to you mostly, but for hat knitting specifically, I'd go for a shorter needle length. I think it was the 4-inch, or I think they do an even shorter length as well. But I don't actually have a needle set specifically for hat knitting, so I tend to do magic loop with those. So if you are doing magic loop, you can use a longer cable length. The other part of the question that Rachel asked was, how do you decide on what the cable length is you need? If you are knitting in the round and you are not knitting magic loop, you are literally just knitting all the way around without having magic loop at all affecting the way you're knitting, you'll need to make sure that the circumference of your needle plus your cable is either the same size or smaller than the round that you are knitting, because otherwise it'll stretch your stitches across the needle and the cable and it'll end up changing your tension. However, if you are doing magic loop, you can basically get away with any longer length, but the longer you go, the more of a faff it is to pull out your cable when you're doing the magic loop, if that makes sense. So as long as you stick to the cable being long enough for all your stitches to fit, you can go for any cable length with magic loop. So yes, just remember, if you're doing just knitting in the round without magic loop, make sure you go for your circumference or slightly smaller. If you're doing magic loop, you can get away with quite a long cable length. I prefer to stick to quite a short cable length even for magic loop, just because I don't like the cable to be flying everywhere. It can really get on your nerves, especially if you've got a cable that's a bit like the chow goo. Red lace cables are quite stiff, so you'll probably need a bit longer than you would with the more flexible cables. So if I'm thinking about my sock knitting, for instance, I do work with quite a short cable here, but it's a very flexible cable. These are hires. Their cables are really flexible, so you can get away with a slightly shorter cable, whereas if you had quite a stiff cable, it would be difficult to get your stitches or get your cable to sort of fit around. So you effectively need a loop this side and this side. So to be comfortable, if you've got a stiffer cable, you'll need a longer one. So I hope that makes sense, Rachel, and that helps other people as well with choosing your different cable lengths. But if you have any more questions, either pop them down below or join the Ask Me Anything thread in the Ravelry group. So I'm not going to show you anything in terms of what's going to go in the shop update next week, but don't forget there are already things in the shop if you're interested in picking up some yarn, and I've also got some kits left with our collaboration with Caroline from Caroline Loves to Sew and I, where we did a little surprise Christmas box. So there's still a couple in my shop, and I think Caroline's got one or two in hers as well if you want to pick up one of those. They're a pre-order and they will be dispatched in I think 6 to 8 weeks, so, but that'll be plenty of time for you to get it before Christmas. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more, and it really helps the podcast reach out to other people. So I hope you have a lovely crafty couple of weeks. Until next time.